He ate a passenger on the bus after walking around holding his head in his hand.
It was at that point that he started walking to the front of the bus, and he had the head in his hand, and he just looked at us like this and dropped it on the ground, like totally calm.
The crime shocked the whole world, but what the judge did generated even more repudiation.
Mr. Lee should be held accountable for it. He should be held responsible for it. He still did it. Whether he was in his right frame of mind or not, he still did the act. There was nobody else on that bus holding a slicing up my child.
Tim McLean was a quiet young man on his way home after work. He sat almost in the last row of the bus and fell asleep listening to music. A few minutes later, Vince Lee, a Chinese man who up to that point had seemed totally normal, got on the bus. However, after a rest stop where he got up to smoke, the whole bus would be left covered in blood and meat. Out of nowhere, he pulled out a huge knife from home and started stabbing Tim in the most vicious way possible.
I was just reading a book. All of a sudden I heard a guy screaming. I turned around and the guy sitting right next beside me was standing up, and another guy with a Rambo pretty much. It was a big survival like this in the throat, repeatedly.
The witnesses were confused and traumatized. They all ran out of the bus very scared of what might happen to them. But Lee was so focused on his sanguinary and macabre murder, he didn't care about the rest.
Everybody got off the bus. Me and a trucker that had stopped and the Greyhound driver ran up to the door to maybe see if the guy was still alive or we could help or something like that. And when we all got up, we seen that the guy was cutting off the guy's head. He was cutting off the guy's head there, and he saw us. He came back to the front of the bus, told the driver to shut the door. He pressed the button and the door shut, but it didn't shut in time, and the guy was able to get his out and take a swipe at us, so we backed off the door.
The scene was macabre, and once he was left alone again with his victim in the bus, he started to take out his organs to eat them: the heart, the eyes. The police would arrive a little more than an hour after the attack began, but they didn't want to kill him because that would leave them with no answers, so they did their best to get him out of there with negotiators. According to reports, Lee was saying that he should stay on the bus forever. He was totally out of his mind. It was only after 1:30 a.m. that they were able to restrain him, ending up with a scene worthy of a gore film.
Now, court documents reveal more about that night of horror. As police officers searched Lee, they found a baggie containing a human nose, ear, and part of a mouth, all believed cut from Tim McLean's body.
Everyone was traumatized by what had happened to Tim, and of course, something wasn't right in Lee's head to commit such a brutal crime. However, he had done it, and he would leave a family totally destroyed. No one could really believe what had happened.
This is no regular
This is far from a regular murder. Far from a regular one.
When you heard, how did you feel?
Immediately, sick. Sick to my stomach. When I initially heard what had happened, I felt sick. I felt nauseous. We prayed for the family of this person, and then 24 hours later found out it was my son that we had prayed for.
Tim's parents wanted justice, but they would soon see how Lee's defense would appeal to his mental state to save him from jail and commit him to a mental institution.
Tim McLean last summer on a Greyhound bus will not be going to prison. A judge ruled today that Vince Lee is not criminally responsible for the crime due to severe mental illness. Lee stabbed and beheaded McLean, believing he was ordered to by God. As Marissa Dragani reports, McLean's family was angered by today's ruling.
The McLean family couldn't believe the ruling.
We've all lost a family member here, and this isn't the right result.
That's the bottom line, is he is getting away with
Mr. Lee should be held accountable for it. He should be held responsible for it. He still did it. Whether he was in his right frame of mind or not, he still did the act. There was nobody else on that bus holding a knife, slicing up my child.
But the worst was yet to come. 7 years after the ruling that he wasn't criminally responsible, and after much psychiatric treatment, the doctors decided that Lee could rejoin society.
The man who a fellow passenger on a Greyhound bus, may soon be walking the streets of Winnipeg unsupervised, and the decision is causing concern. Vince Lee is schizophrenic and was found not criminally responsible. After years of medication and therapy, doctors believe he presents little risk to the public. But there is some concern now about Lee's safety.
Now he's going to be walking the streets of Winnipeg. I'm horrified by that.
What is certain is that in 2017, 9 years after the brutal murder, Vince Lee would finally regain his full freedom, not even with any kind of supervision. All the doctors in charge came to the agreement that the criminal was ready to reintegrate and that he posed no danger to society. But of course, the only thing that generated that was more fear in Tim's family, who haven't been able to mourn him well because for them, there has been no justice whatsoever in the case.
And it took a long time to really want to get up every day. I was given a few reasons to feel that way, to want to get up.
Carol de Delay, the young man's mother, has found only shelter in her grandson, Tim's first and only son, of whom she gained full custody, and now he lives quietly with her.
I was in shock, and then scared, and then excited, and then really worried. A gift from God sent by my son to give me a reason to get up every day and to take care of. And I'm doing that to the best of my ability.